Hey everyone, I hope that you are doing okay and happy Friday. This is officially the first Friday of fall break here in Shelby County. So I don't know about y'all, but this morning it was a lot of hustle and bustle in my house trying to get my family out the door and just ready to enjoy a restful fall break. So I'm sending love and light to other families and parents who are working to get their kids out the door and try to squeeze in some time before just the rest of the semester. So lifting you up and thinking of you. So for everyone who is joining me for the first time, my name is Ruby Powell-Dennis, and I continue to be proud to be running to be your next state senator here in Tennessee, representing the eastern part of Shelby County, which includes Arlington, Lakeland, Cordova, Collierville, Germantown, a little piece of Bartlett, unincorporated Shelby County, and starts at the Poplar and Highland corridor, then coming east. So it's just so good to be with you. A lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. And so I wanted to just spend some time today talking a little bit about, one of the questions I get a lot while I'm out talking to voters, meeting with folks, is what has been the true impact of us having a Republican supermajority, quite frankly, in Nashville? Like, why should we vote for Democrat? We're hearing all these things. Why should we vote and support, your policies? And so, one thing that I always keep coming back to is just reminding folks that Democrats have been fighting for some of the stuff that you're seeing right now for a very, very long time. But because it was not the policy priorities for conservatives until recently, it wasn't, the legislation was just quite frankly deprioritized and not given the due diligence, not giving the financial support that it needed to really be able to positively serve people, to keep people alive, to keep people safe. And one just sad but truthful example of that is all that is happening with the TBI kids. And so I was talking with one of my fellow colleagues, Representative Antonio Parkinson, um, and he was just letting me know, Ruby, we filed legislation, back in 2014 to have money earmarked at the state level to address the delays in getting rape kits processed. Because we saw back then there was just a tremendous amount of data saying that the system was not working. The legislation would have required a fiscal investment because let's be clear, to run things, even a small government, it takes money. No, people do not want to work in government for free. So you do have to allocate resources to be able to make systemic changes to systems that in order to better serve Tennesseans. And because it was going to cost $10 million, it was deprioritized. And that legislation was not supported by our Republican supermajority. And as a result of that, we are now having conversations now about, who should have been on the street, truth in sentencing, when in actuality, Democrats have been fighting for people to address these systemic issues for many, many years. Those folks are still in office fighting. And now, because of public opinion, it is now a priority for conservatives. And, that's one of the reasons why I tell folks, we have to have people like you, like me, who get their signatures and get their names on the ballot because, we are impacted when these decisions are made, whether we realize it or not. And so when everyday people who are living and experiencing the brokenness of our systems, the brokenness of our government start to run for office, things change. And so that's one horrific example where, now conservatives are scrambling, supporting legislation. But when we had the opportunity to do right by victims as far back as 2014, it was not a policy priority for conservatives. And so these are the types of issues that we are fighting against. It's not just, you know, I need your vote because I'm a Democrat. I'm asking for your vote because I'm not going to deprioritize legislation that saves lives. All the stuff that is happening, it is happening in District 31. A lot of folks in District 31 are impacted by, the failure of our TBI systems to process rape kits timely. A lot of people in my district are impacted by the gun violence that is happening. So when we were fighting against permitless carry, when we were fighting against getting slavery out of our state constitution as a form of punishment years ago, it was not a priority for conservatives in Nashville. And my opponent has made it all but clear that when he gets up there, if he gets elected, he's going to follow what they're doing. And so again, we can't elect people who are telling us on the front end, vote for me, but I am not going to make a commitment to fight and improve and fund systems and government that work for victims. I'm going to instead fight against another person because of their political beliefs, but I'm actually not committed to improving the systems that are failing Tennesseans. We got to stop electing people like that, because let me tell you something. You don't know when some of these situations might show up at your house. And when it does, and when it happens, you're going to want a system, a structure to turn to that takes care of you and your family. And that's not unreasonable. That's not unreasonable. And so that's why I'm running. And that's why, when we have one party who's in power, making a ton of decisions that are affecting human rights, that are affecting other people, and they themselves are not impacted by these situations, this is what we get. We get failed policy. Or we get policymakers who don't address situations until they are in a reactive position, when the data has been telling us all along that the systems were not working. The systems were not meeting the needs of victims, systems that are not meeting the needs of the families of victims. And bottom line is, it shouldn't matter how much money you have in your personal bank account when you're talking about systems that are paid for with tax dollars, especially when we have a General Assembly that is priding themselves on their AAA rating on Wall Street, but you have $1 billion in a rainy day fund. My goodness, if COVID is not the epitome of a rainy day, if the epidemic with our rape kits is not the epitome of a rainy day, my goodness, what is? What is? And so I'm just asking you to make a plan to vote. You don't need all the money in the world, as it has been proven by organizers throughout American history who have come to our communities, who've worked in our communities, fighting for human rights, fighting for workers' rights, fighting for the rights and the existence of just families. It shouldn't matter how much money you have. And so that's why, making sure that we are voting based on what a candidate says they're going to do, and then holding that person accountable, is important. And that's something that we get a chance to do starting early vote on October 19th. So if you didn't know, now you know. We have more than enough votes to turn out and get the outcome we want to make sure that this seat flips. It doesn't matter how many yard signs a person puts out. Yard signs don't vote, y'all. People do. And I'm still a part of the party that believes people decide elections. The community decides elections, not electors, not attorneys, not the powerful, and not the wealthy. People decide elections. And so when people go out to vote, we win. We proved that in August. We proved that in May. And now we need to prove it just one more time, Shelby County, just one more time for the November elections. So please drop in the comments, follow up with me if there's something on your heart and mind. But I'm just asking you to please, let's not vote for any more folks who are going to fall lockstep into what is already taking our country and our state down the wrong path, where, we are seeing leaders who over and over are being indicted for campaign finance, mismanagement of money, and yet they're not taking personal responsibility for the roles that they themselves have played in the moment we are in. It's time to make your vote count. There is only one way to fire the incumbents, and that's when you go to the ballot and when you vote. So y'all stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.